I'm being extra brave for you guys today. I'm filming in public. I'm out of town for work and I decided to walk down to the beach. I'm not exactly sure what to call this video that I have for you guys today. I have this secret Pinterest board for myself. It's titled Fine Tuning because that's exactly what it is. It is a digital space where I fine tune my style and my aesthetic, if you will. And through the board, you can see how my style and vibe shifts according to what I've been paying attention to recently. I'm such a visual person, as is every other bitch with a Pinterest account. So I pin all sorts of things on that board that bring me any type of inspiration, things like patterns, colors. So not always super specific like fashion garments, but just it's like a wider net of things that help me be creative and continue to evolve my sense of style. Honestly, in a way, it's a sort of trend prediction for myself. I pick up on things that I find interesting that also I see a potential to influence fashion to some extent. So let's dive into it. Best way that I can describe the collection of things that I have for you guys today is everything is romantic. Don't blame me, blame the Wuthering Heights trailer. I've been absolutely captivated by that piece of media, and I think the rest of the internet has as well. Charlie XCX's remix of Everything is Romantic for that trailer is an absolute masterpiece and has me wanting every moment to feel exactly like that song. In the fashion world, we've definitely seen a revival in feminine garments. Dare I say boho is back, but not in the way that we've seen in the last few cycles. On my Pinterest board specifically, I see boho being back in a way that it's a lot more, for the lack of better words, romantic. I'm leaning heavily into all the frills of classic romantic femininity. The very first thing that's littered through my Pinterest board is art ladies. At least that's what I'm calling them. Forgive my ignorance. I have no idea what era of art these women were painted in. I'm starting with this specific item because the rest of my board will make a lot more sense now that we laid the groundwork of what the overall vibe is and what is the inspiration behind the things that I've been pinning lately. And I don't know, I just feel like this vibe has been more present in a lot of different media lately. These paintings have inspired me to pin all kinds of detailing. So next on my list, I have buttons, embellishments, pearls, specifically buttons on absolutely everything. I see these embellishments as obviously very overtly feminine and beautiful, but not in your face. That makes any sense? Yes, I'm pinning shirts with buttons all over them, but it's almost just like a small way to add romance to your everyday closet. And honestly, I am tempted to do some kind of button DIY in the future, so let me know if you guys want to see that. I definitely want to recreate some of the things that I've been pinning, recreate some of like the pearl crafts that I've been seeing, or maybe they're not crafts, maybe they're actual products, but because my brain works in DIY, I think I can recreate everything. I've also been pinning a lot of different textures. So next on my list would be lace, silk, chiffon, very romantic and overtly feminine textures. I specifically like these textures juxtaposed with traditionally less feminine materials. Think like lace with office wear, power suit, or a super structured blazer with like a peak of lace underneath. I find very sexy and alluring. And in addition to those textures, also mesh. We've seen mesh a lot in the last few cycles with mesh shoes and mesh coming back in different ways. I think I'm even more obsessed with it now. Chanel specifically I think their latest fashion show or the one before last premiered these mesh boots that I'm absolutely obsessed with. They're still playful, but there's something so, again, just alluring about a mesh shoe and being able to see right through to the foot. I don't know. I don't have a foot. Can I say that word on YouTube? I don't even know. There is a certain impracticality of femininity, which is honestly a bigger conversation about how some of our most beautiful and feminine garments are also the most uncomfortable. And yes, mesh boots are incredibly impractical and offer little to no warmth. I would honestly sell my spleen for them, and I'm only slightly proud to admit that. I have a weird one for y'all. I've been pinning a ton of lover's eye. I discovered these when I went to the art museum a couple of months ago, and when I saw them, I was instantly fascinated with them. Here's a brief history for you guys on lover's eye jewelry. Basically, I think it's in the 18th century, but if I'm wrong, I'll put it somewhere on the screen. It became really trendy, if you will, for people in society to gift their lovers their eyes, like little paintings of their eyes, and put them into all sorts of little jewelry locket type situations. And there's not a ton of written history, I guess, recorded history about this practice because the nature of this exchange was very secretive. Typically, when a person received a lover's eye piece of jewelry, they weren't supposed to or just didn't reveal the identity of the person's eye. In other words, the person that sent them that piece of jewelry. But the secrecy of it really came from the fact that it was typically people in secret love affairs sending these pieces of jewelry to one another. And it was theorized that these pieces of jewelry were typically small in nature, so they could be kept in their pocket or very discreetly pinned to somewhere on their clothing that wouldn't be easily seen. And to me, and I think a lot of other people who are obsessed with lover's eye agree that there's a sort of voyeuristic nature to these pieces of jewelry. In the era that these pieces were exchanged, it was very common for women to always have a sort of chaperone, and so people of the opposite sex typically did not spend a ton of time alone together. And the lover's eye, in a way, kind of symbolized a breakdown of these social constraints. A lover couldn't openly and freely walk into their sneaky link's bedroom. It almost became like this sort of thrilling feeling of my lovers always with me, even though they can't actually see them. Just the idea of being seen in these very personal settings is what I think made them so exciting and scandalous. And honestly, that does sound kind of creepy of like, I want my sneaky link to always be watching me. But I don't know. Again, I think it's something that is very romantic and a way to keep people connected in an era where it was hard to kind of have those intimate moments. So scandal plus romance equals it's going on my Pinterest board. And honestly, I am very tempted to get my own eye made into a lover's eye to give to my husband, who is not my secret love affair, but my love affair for life. So I've also been paying a ton of attention to hair. We've been on a clean girl kick. Girls have been slaying boots down the house. Houston, a slick back for a really long time, and they look lovely. But I've recently noticed in embracing of more natural textures, even girlies with straight hair kind of doing a more messy look, which I find so freaking gorgeous. And I'm biased because I have curly hair. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like the indie Tumblr girl messy bun, but again, in a much more romantic way where the curls are a little bit more tussled, but still tighter and just like kind of acting as like halo for framing the face in a way that wasn't done before. The one thing I keep repinning, even though Pinterest is always like, this is already on your Pinterest board, is Anne Hathaway with curly hair. I feel like that vibe is just so freaking stunning and has been the look that I've been trying to emulate with my own curly hair. Another thing that is littered throughout my Pinterest board are these super dramatic collars. They've been popular for a while, and Gaudi has done this really, really well with these like sort of detachable collar type capes. I don't know, because they're very big. They're almost cape-like to me. I love how these collars look on structured shirts, like button-down shirts, oversized sweaters. I definitely see myself embracing that trend this cold season with a lot of oversized knitwear. And to be honest, the Ghani collar has been calling my name. I found it on the RealReal, and if y'all don't buy it, I will. So another weird one for you guys. Not fashion. I've been pinning a lot of swans. I'm super drawn to their elegance and their beauty, and it makes me think of like ballerinas, like historically accurate ballerinas, not in like Princess Pilates type of way that kind of took the athleisure world by storm. I'm thinking more like feathers, tools, pastels, leg warmers, not in a workout way, but definitely as a fancy accessory. I'm almost seeing like embellished leg warmers or leg warmers with heels, and I just can't get the image of ballerinas out of my mind and swans. So I can see myself trying something like that. Ooh, what if I do leg warmers and put buttons on them? I might have to do that. Last thing that I have for you guys is makeup. I think we're very close to a resurgence of 1960s fashion, especially when I saw Emma Chamberlain's latest Italy Fashion Week look. That maybe I'm misguided, but it feels super 60s to me, very mod, which is kind of contrasting to the idea that we're going to see like a resurgence in like Renaissance-ish femininity. Because when I think mod, I think very clean, I think playful, I think almost like futuristic. So where I see the mod style coming back, I think would be the makeup. Because if there's something really romantic, it's doing up the eyes, and the mod style does eye makeup like no other era, really emphasizes the eyes. And I can see kind of like this pale palette but really graphic eye looks becoming more popular, at least for me, at least for my trends. If that tells me one thing, it's that I need to get better at eyeliner. And that's it. Those are the main things that I've been pinning on my Pinterest board, on my secret Pinterest board lately. And I hope that it gave you guys some sort of inspiration. I'm a pretty big proponent of kind of like going outside of fashion to find your inspiration, because if you're kind of always looking at clothes for inspiration, it gets very repetitive and also very boring. I think of consuming fashion content in the same way that I consume any content, in that I'd like to observe, take it in, but also see what I can add into it. I know that can be a little bit challenging sometimes when I'm like, yeah, guys, just look at the world, look at the trees and be inspired. It's like, girl, what the fuck am I going to get from like a bunch of trees? And what is that going to tell me about what to wear tomorrow when I wake up? My board just kind of helps me put together everything that I've been finding pretty lately, everything that tickles my brain in a type of way and just inspires me and helps me create those concrete examples. So I highly encourage this kind of practice for yourself. But if it's not something that you want to do, I'm happy to do it for you. If you like my vibe, definitely stick around. And who knows? Maybe you might be inspired as well. That's all I got for you guys. All right, I'm going to head back before it gets dark and I get murdered. That's it. Bye.